your host, Matthew Griffin, and futurist in chief of the 311 Institute. Now, we're going to have a look at the future. We're going to explore the latest, greatest, weirdest emerging technology and science news that you could twist your brain around. First, and if you don't want this section, fast forward to like, I don't know, 2-3 minutes. Firstly, though, I've got a couple of shout outs. So, firstly, thank you very much to everyone who's subscribed to the YouTube channels. Basically, I now have 2 channels, basically, that have got 2 of these. Here we go. There you go. Trying to get that on there. The 311 Institute YouTube channel is over 100,000 subscribers. And the Fanatical Futurist YouTube channel is now approaching 600,000 subs. It's on its way to 1 million. We've democratized access to the future for over 10 million people in 2024 alone. That's it. And we have not stopped yet. Now, in addition to that, if you really, really love the future, if you want to see some of the latest, the weirdest emerging technologies that you could possibly not actually imagine, including things like liquid artificial intelligences and so on and so forth, I am not a best-selling author. I've written 15 books, but I give them all away free. I am never. I'm like one of those bank fraud adverts. We will never ask you for money or your PIN number. So if you actually want to download the latest 311 emerging technology posters and books and all that kind of stuff, we've got this. So if you want the latest 2025 emerging technology poster, there's over 300 emerging technologies up to 50 years out on this starburst. People like copying it. You know who you are. Stop it. It's now actually copyrighted. Then you can download this. This is a A3 and A0 poster. And actually, really weirdly, as a poster, it is on the walls of a couple of world leaders, especially in the Middle East. Who figures? Or at least the 2024 version is. So this is the one for next year. I'm a futurist. I do things ahead of time. I'm really productive like that. You've got the 311 Institute Trends Codex, Technology Codex, and all that sort of stuff. And if you want to see what this little monster looks like in real life, this is what it looks like in real life. This is what is free. It's now actually 500 pages of emerging technologies and all that kind of stuff. Picking things at random. Each emerging technology gets its own page so that you can understand everything you need to understand about that technology in 2 minutes or less. And as I rummage around the desk, we've got, what have we got there? We've got the exponential, oh, we've done that one. Oh, we've got the Trends Codex now. So when we have a look at the Trends Codex, again, this is free. There are 600,000 hand-picked statistics in here, 350 megatrends across steep, every single sector, every line of business. You know, what have we got here? And again, you can see, so this is creative destruction, but you can see every individual trend has got its own page, so you can understand what it is, why you should care, and then what sort of actions should you take, either as an individual or as a company boss. There's also my foresight programs are in here as well. So if you want to run your own foresight programs, that's all in there as well. And then as we kind of scroll down here, future of education and learning. I don't print everything out, but if you want to know what the future of jobs, work, learning, education, corporate development is, download that. And this one here. So how to build your own multi-billion-dollar global exponential disruptive enterprise. So I started writing this after some of my meetings with Shell years and years ago. They had a problem of, on the one hand, seeing what the future looked like and then kind of getting to the future. So we called it crossing the chasm. And this is quite literally an A to Z of how to build disruptive companies. Now, you can either start from a blank piece of paper, if you're an entrepreneur like me, and then sort of ramp up through there and scale up. But if you already have an existing company and you want to do disruptive new things, then it takes you through everything. It's literally the A to Z. It walks you through how you change corporate culture, how you identify new opportunities, sources of information, how you build and prototype products, how you launch how you launch new go-to-markets, business models, how you get investment. I mean, goodness, everything is in there. I can't believe it's free. That's it. Look at me using a crappy camera because I can't afford anything better. Anyway, I mean, ironically, we're going to get on with it now. I feel like I've done a sales pitch on you, but how can I do a sales pitch on you if everything's free? I don't know. Is it the sales pitch? You tell me. We put that in the comments. Basically say, yes, stop boring us with your merchandise crap, even though it's free. We like it. So we're going to go through the last 12 days of emerging technology and science news. I do it at a fairly rapid clip, so you can rewind, fast forward, and or just completely ignore me and go to the next YouTuber video somewhere else. Maybe Mr. Beast is doing something interesting. However, Mr. Beast will not be doing anything as science fiction like as this stuff. So let's get going. I've just literally seen what's first on the page. So when we have a look at the future of artificial intelligence, we've got large language models today and generative AI, which we've been talking about for the past 10 years. However, we're now starting to look forwards to agentic artificial intelligence. So you can think of agentic artificial intelligence as being little AI bots. So you have a big master mother artificial intelligence that kind of manages what all of these little agents do. So a bit like a project manager or a parent. Probably more effective as a project manager than a parent, because as a parent, my kids don't do anything I tell them to do. It literally would be chaos. So what we have is we've got a lot of companies like Microsoft, OpenAI, Anthropic, Google, and so on and so forth, developing agentic artificial intelligence. Now, some universities like Stanford have been putting some of these AI agents in their own virtual rooms and like shutting the door, and then watching from outside the room to see what's going on. And we've seen AIs go psychotic. We've seen AIs helping psychotic AIs and everything else. But in this latest one here, artificial intelligent agents were put into their own virtual room and they started bullying one another. They then started psychoanalyzing one another and ended up, I kid you not, and it's not the first time we've seen this, building their own protoculture. So if you think artificial intelligence isn't weird, if you are very, very confident in artificial intelligence ethics and bias and safety systems and regulations, you don't want to have a conversation with me about the safety of AI, because we are doing all kinds of things and discovering all kinds of things that AIs do that actually make them look human-like. It's nuts. So you can click on these and then you can go and read the actual articles and see who's doing what. For the crypto bros, hey, crypto bros, it increasingly, as we look towards US elections coming up in the new year and all that kind of stuff, Trump is obviously taking a pro-crypto stance. Elon Musk is obviously very pro-crypto, etc., etc. It turns out that increasingly more and more countries around the world are looking at building their own Bitcoin national reserves, typically in the billions of dollars area. They're not sort of going to tens or hundreds of billions of dollars or trillions. But that's quite interesting. That is more than likely at some point going to start turbocharging and giving legitimacy to cryptocurrencies that in some cases have struggled for government legitimacy for quite a lot of years. When we think about the language of programming and other things, this is sort of quite a funny one. The future of programming is Nigerian, let alone anything else. Now, a couple of researchers basically actually found, typically what happens is you'll end up with a company like Meta, for example. They will train their artificial intelligences on data, but they will then ask people, gig economy workers essentially, to validate their AI models, check their AI models and make tweaks and all that kind of stuff. Um, and in many cases, the large tech giants that you're getting your artificial intelligence service from are actually outsourcing the development of these AIs in terms of, the validation, the checking, the kind of the grunt work to people in other countries. And what people have actually been finding is if you ask ChatGPT, for example, to write you a report, um, the words that are most commonly used in Nigeria keep coming through in reports. So, on the one hand, increasingly artificial intelligences are speaking Nigerian, not English. But then if you're programming, you're programming in English, they're then translating some of these things into Nigerianese. So I think this is kind of just like it's a funny one. We kind of think that the world is the language of the world, or one of the world languages is English. But ironically, increasingly, the language of artificial intelligence is Nigerian. So good on you, Nigeria. That's it. I'm sure I'll be back to see you all soon. Um, Now, Vanta, I talk about lots and lots of different topics and subjects, and I go deep on lots of different topics and subjects. One of the areas that I look at as a futurist is regulation and compliance, RegTech. Basically, it's very exciting, as everyone in the industry will know. Um, Overall, the vast majority of businesses, like banks, spend, it's estimated, about 10% of their revenues on being compliant. And the amount of regulations and compliance that are coming through is only increasing. Europe at the moment is putting together over 400 pieces of new regulation. And as businesses, we need to be compliant with those. So it's a right headache because the more regulations and compliance there are, the more people you need, the more lawyers you need, and so on and so forth. So in this case, I've been talking about this for a very long time, the automation of regulation and compliance using things like blockchain rails, AI, machine learning, that kind of stuff. Um, so Vanta, which is an American sort of startup, they're on their way to being quite a big unicorn now, has found a way to automate compliance and regulation. So sounds boring. However, if you want to unlock the latest innovations and all that kind of stuff, the only way that you get your brand new shiny product into the market is when the regulators say yes. So unless we can speed up regulation and compliance at the company level, but also at the government level, then we won't be able to realize faster innovation cycles. And in the West, that's particularly important because we're being out innovated very rapidly by the Chinese. And I'm sure we'll come on to some Chinese news stories in here in a little bit. Um, we've got Visa. So talking of China, Visa has partnered with Tencent. So if you don't have anything on you, provided you have got your hand, you can walk into stores around Southeast Asia and you pay with your palm. There you go. So we've seen pay with face, pay with voice, pay with thumbprint, etc., etc. Palm with or pay with palm is a thing. And actually, people who've been using it actually quite like it. I mean, actually, I kind of still argue that you could pay with your favorite stick because provided you've got a camera on a point of sale, you could just hold up any old thing and go, I'm paying with my favorite pencil. And the AI goes, yes, that is actually Max Pencil because it's got these notches on and all that kind of stuff, and it's that color. Here you go. Here's your new MacBook. So there you go. So literally, we are living in the world basically where we don't just pay with biometrics. You could pay with your favorite stick. I'm fairly sure that Visa will never ever use my idea. But why not? That would be quite secure. Yeah. You could choose your own object to pay with. Yeah. Try and break that one, criminals. Um, Now we've got Coty. So Coty is a Web3 startup. Big shout out to those guys. They have been developing a Web3 cross-chain privacy protocol. So increasingly, as we build decentralized apps, as we build decentralized everything on the blockchain, quite a lot of blockchains struggle to interoperate with one another. We're still trying to build a lot of the protocols and the foundations for some of the Web3 world that everybody, especially tech bros, basically love jumping up and down about. So it's actually good to see that someone is actually thinking about a privacy protocol to, should we say, I say keep our data safe, but having a privacy protocol doesn't necessarily mean your data is safe. It just means you can control it and all that kind of stuff. So I think that's good. We've got artificial intelligence. So this is an artificial intelligence out of the United States. I've seen this kind of technology from Israel before, but whereas Israel used artificial intelligence, machine vision, and biometrics to try to understand your persona, this particular artificial intelligence here is aimed at cloning your personality. Now, when we talk about cloning personalities and everything else, so, this is kind of from MIT here and Stanford. They're always up to weird stuff, those two. Actually, I'll give you a big shout out to Stanford, especially. MIT, yeah, you're doing some good stuff. But when it comes to AI, Stanford's doing some really weird stuff. So you can click actually on Stanford University and just see exactly what kind of weird stuff they've been doing. When we actually have a look at cloning personalities, it's not that easy to do. But if I can clone your personality, then I can I can create a likeness of you in a digital human, in a deep fake, an avatar, whatever it happens to be, for better or worse. Good luck trying to clone my personality, you ratbags. Now, next up, ChatGPT. So this is so increasingly we're seeing ChatGPT, or more specifically, large language models being used in the life sciences, healthcare, and medical fields to create new drugs and things. This is about the third time I've seen an artificial intelligence creating a full synthetic genome, which then takes us into the rather odd space of, if artificial intelligence can create a synthetic genome, which can then be used to create a synthetic life form, and if AI knows what genes to manipulate and to put in there and everything else, increasingly, artificial intelligence will be able to create new life forms. Especially when you start combining artificial intelligence with 3D bioprinting, where you can 3D print human embryos and all these kinds of weird things. So increasingly, when we think about life on Earth, we've already got synthetic DNA where we have 11 base pair DNA, and we've created sort of semi-synthetic life forms that are sort of half alien, half, what they were originally, especially yeast cells. But if you think about science fiction, yeah, this is science fiction coming science fact, because what happens when artificial intelligence goes, I've just designed a new alien life form that's going to kill you all, and then it prints it off, and then it goes and kills everyone. And maybe the synthetic life form turns on the artificial intelligence because it's part AI, part biological computer, part human, part, I don't know, Prometheus, alien, Sigourney Weaver, mashup hybrid thing. God knows. That's a interestingly scary future. Maybe it'll go and make a unicorn. That'd be a fun one. People would buy that, especially a mini unicorn. So Lawrence Berkeley are creating new elements. Apparently, who knew there is a physicist race to create new heavy elements? Still not sure really why. If you're a physicist, let me know. But Lawrence Berkeley are using a mixture of lasers and different heavy metal elements basically to create, or to try to create, a new element called element 210, which I think they were going to call something like Lawrence Livermorium. However, the reason this is interesting is I've talked about the ability to create new matter from light, which was first observed about 6 to 8 months ago. If Lawrence Livermore managed to create a brand new element, it would, for the first time in something like a century, mean that the periodic table that we have all grown up with would end up having to have a new line. So, yeah, chemists everywhere geek out over that. And then what else have we got? So, here we go. This line here. Um, so we've got a UK company, so a British company, Hoorah, who's now created a new kind of motor, basically, that doesn't use rare earth elements. So normally rare earth elements like gallium are put into motors. And those motors are obviously put into pretty much everything, basically from military things to civilian cars to your vacuum cleaners and all the things that you cherish and love on a daily basis. However, as we see America and China continue to have a trade war with one another, China a little while ago basically said, no, no more rare earth elements for you, America, or people who like America. And so one of the big problems that has been looming for a couple of years now is the scarcity of rare earth elements because China controls about 80% of the supply. So increasingly across whether it's Japan, Asia, Europe, and America, there are lots and lots of projects coming out of the woodwork to fundamentally replace rare earth elements. One of the projects that we've seen recently is the development of new quantum materials which replace rare earths, and even the use of potash by Sandia to produce new rare earth elements and all that kind of stuff. This is also why Trump, during his campaign, has been talking about taking over and annexing Greenland, because guess what Greenland has got a lot of? Rare earth elements. There you go. Excellent pointing skills. So then these last two, and then I'm going to do the other ones basically in another video. So Huawei as a company is probably one of the most disrupted companies on earth, but also one of the most disruptive companies on earth. And if you ever want to learn how to protect your company or yourself from disruption, Huawei give a masterclass, which actually I should put into my I should put into my free book, shouldn't I? I said they're free, so there you go. Now, Huawei, while they've been banned in lots of different markets, they've been blacklisted from buying American semiconductors and all those kinds of different things. They do everything from laying undersea cables to producing cars to smartphones to trying to replace the Google Play Store that I've talked about in the past. But they've just spent, it was something like $10 billion on a new campus. And in that campus, they are developing the latest semiconductors and GPUs. And some of the ones that they've been producing, like the Crinin, are really quite good, bearing in mind that China has also been banned from buying the giant EV lithography, so the ultraviolet lithography machines from ASML in Holland to make some of the smaller transistor computer chips. So Huawei, it is highly possible that Huawei will in time become the new, I say, Nvidia. I was going to say Intel. Pat Genslinger, who used to be one of my old bosses back in the day at EMC, not doing very well. So Huawei, with all of the semiconductors they're producing, their background, they spend about $15 billion a year on research and development. They've got 45,000 people specializing in it. The only people who kind of come close basically would be Samsung. I I would put money that Huawei will start disrupting the global semiconductor industry sooner than you think. And then finally, something I talked to IKEA about when I was in Scandinavia quite a while ago. This is the second time that we've seen this. This is now a commercialization. Galley is now bringing lab-grown cotton to the market. Now, for those of you that don't know, lab-grown basically means that we take the cell, for example, from a plant or an animal, and then we grow the rest of that plant, or just the bits of the plant, for example, or the animal, in a lab. So in this particular case, if you think about some of the sanctions that we're seeing against Chinese cotton, essentially the Uyghur cotton, um, not only is lab-grown cotton and wood and coffee and all these sorts of things much more sustainable, but they are much, much easier to produce locally. So rather than having to import cotton, you could just have a building where you create lab-grown cotton, and it could be right next to your textile factory. So that's an interesting one. And that's it. So I'm going to do this. If you have a look at the shark, this one's interesting. I'm going to do this in the next video. I'm kind of doing things backwards just to confuse the hell out of you all. And if that is confusing the hell out of you all, then do feel free to replay this video backwards. That's how you jailbreak an artificial intelligence, by the way, but more on that another time. So thank you very much for listening. I hope you enjoyed that. And do remember, download all of my stuff, pay me no money, and explore the infinite future for yourself. And if you ever need anything, just drop comments in, DM me, whatever it happens to be. And yeah, let's have a catch up. Take care. All the best. Goodbye.